Guys, Greg here at the Vinyl Rundown. You may have heard in the news the controversy over at Vinyl Me Please. Vinyl Me Please fired three of its top executives, its CEO and CFO, and they're actually suing those people because of their involvement in the record plant, the pressing plant that many of us thought was part of Vinyl Me Please, but actually is a separate entity and not part of Vinyl Me Please. At least that's what the lawsuit alleges. So I'm going to actually show you the complaint, the legal complaint. And I do have to say that everything in the complaint is alleged. This is what the plaintiffs are stating, alleging that the defendants did, but the defendants have not yet responded to the lawsuit. So this may sound one-sided. I can't verify if any of these facts are true or not. It will come out if there is a eventual court case or trial, I should say, but chances are they'll settle this out of court. But it is unusual, I think, that this actually went to a lawsuit, because normally when your CEO or CFO are up to something, you don't want it in the news that they're doing bad stuff. So normally you try to settle this stuff out of court and say, look, guys, we will allow you to resign quietly if you just go on your way and give us some of our money back and not make a federal case out of it. So I assume they did some negotiating, and it didn't work out. And they just said, okay, well, if you guys aren't going to fix this, we're just going to have to sue you. So you may have seen the articles in the press from the Denver Post. I think I'm the only person on YouTube who's actually gone to the trouble of contacting the parties in the case and getting a hold of the legal documents. So I am in possession of the so-called complaint. That's just the legal word for the document that's the center of the lawsuit and the allegations. So I'm going to go through that real quickly. If you guys don't know the background, well, the background is listed in the complaint, so we might as well do it that way. Here's the complaint, and I've redacted some things that to protect privacy of people, and also highlighted the things we want to talk about. So this was filed May 1st in Denver County. The plaintiff is Vinyl Me Please, but they're actually run by a company called Offbeat Ventures. And I'll use the terms plaintiff and defendant. So the defendants are the three guys that got fired. The defendants are Adam Block, Richard Kyleberg, and Cameron Schaefer. So VMP, Vinyl Me Please, was started in 2012 and is now the biggest record of the month club out there. And they are up to 20,000 subscribers, which is great. 20,000 subscribers, by the way, times about $400+ a year, means you have regular expected reoccurring revenue of $8 or $9 million a year just from the subscription, not including the other records you sell on an individual basis. So that is a pretty good money-making machine for anybody in the music business. So anyway, the company VMP is operated by a board of directors, and they appointed officers. And here's an important point, number 12. The officers have fiduciary duties to VMP. Fiduciary duties means you owe a legally higher standard of care, that you must basically watch every penny as if it were your own. And the allegations are they did not do that. Okay, so all this stuff started with the pandemic, 2020 global pandemic. I was buying records by the ton. Maybe you guys were too. I was staying at home for 2 years, locked in my room, working from home remotely, depressed out of my gourd, and buying tons of records online. So demand for vinyl records did go crazy during the pandemic. And the problem associated with that is the supply chain was screwed up. People couldn't go to work in certain factories, and you couldn't import certain materials. So there was a supply chain crunch due to the pandemic, and the suppliers actually put a limit on how many records VMP could order. Okay, that all makes sense. At that point, the defendants said, hey, we've got a problem meeting demand for these records because our suppliers are capping our orders. Why don't we start our own record plant? So they came up with the idea to allegedly here exploit for themselves the business opportunity. Hey, why don't we create our own record plant? But it's not going to be a VMP record plant. It's going to be a record plant that we, the CFO and CEO, own on our own outside of VMP. It's a separate entity. So they crafted a resolution to give to the board of directors and said, here's our plan for the recording pressing plant. Here's why we need to do it, and here's how we're going to do it. That's the resolution. I would love to get a copy of this resolution. It's probably not going to ever be made public unless this goes to trial. The allegation is that the resolution was carefully crafted to obfuscate the true facts, and the motivation behind the pressing plant was to enrich these three defendants. That's the allegation. I can't prove that that's true or not. That's the allegation. In the resolution, the defendant said, hey, the most urgent risk confronting our company right now is the fact that our supply chain is screwed up. We need to fix that. So we propose that we create a pressing plant as a side project. It's not part of VMP, it's a side project. But we're going to own it. But VMP is going to help us. There will be multiple funding sources. It's not just VMP funding this thing. We have our own outside funding. But here's a real interesting portion of the allegation. In order to insulate themselves, the defendants, from any liability, they wrote right into the resolution, hey, this pressing plant is not any kind of improper, inappropriate conduct. It's not a conflict of interest. It's not a breach of fiduciary duty. That's a rather strange approach. You're asking the board to do something, and then you're putting in the print, in the fine print, by the way, nothing here is illegal. Well, why would you have to say that? You already have a fiduciary duty to not do anything illegal or unethical or improper. Why would you put that in writing? Well, in case this comes up in the future, if anybody accuses us of doing anything inappropriate, you've already signed a document that says we can do whatever we want and it's not illegal. That's an idiotic provision. You mean you could steal all our money and we can't come back to you and say, why did you do that? Because the resolution says in the future you're not going to steal our money. I see that as a very telling bit of legal maneuvering there. Anyway, one of the defendants is on the board of directors, Schaefer, and he cast the deciding vote. It was a close call, 4-3. Even before the resolution was presented, VMP ended up paying $200,000 to this Canadian company called Viral Technologies. Viral Technologies makes the modern pressing plant equipment. I didn't know anybody was still making this stuff. I thought they were still relying on the stuff that was invented in the 70s and 80s. The good news is there's still companies out there like Viral Technologies making new pressing plant equipment. Another interesting thing that they did was hire an employee, this guy Gary Salstrom, who's a well-known record plant manager. They hired him to serve as the manager of the pressing plant. Well, who hired him? VMP hired him, and they called him the procurement director, which implied that he's out there procuring vinyl to bring in to the firm. But in reality, he worked at the plant and had nothing to do with VMP. But VMP paid his entire salary. So that's a problem right there. Company A is paying your salary, but you're working for Company B. A lot of VMP employees were told by management to go work at the pressing plant instead of here at VMP where you're supposed to get your work done. And yet the defendants falsely represented to the board that, hey, our employees aren't doing any work for the pressing plant. Why would they do that? One of the things they paid for, I forgot to highlight, is an elaborate sound system at the pressing plant. And we should get into the details of what the pressing plant was about. And that was listed in a lot of media. I'll try to get some of that up on the screen here. The pressing plant was located in downtown Denver. Not a cheap place to put a factory. Downtown Denver, the so-called riverfront area, I think it's called, North River area. A lot of hip areas, I'm assuming restaurants, bars, boutiques, cafes, maybe record stores, clubs, fun places that make a re-emerging downtown district a cool place to hang out and be a hipster. And that's one of the allegations here. And the defendants actually prove that by their own writing, because multiple times they were talking to the media saying, oh yeah, we could have located this pressing plant someplace inexpensive, but we love downtown Denver and we want this to be a destination. And we're going to have a cafe and a bar and a listening area and a cool stereo. Well, are you doing that because you want to create a hip place for you and your friends to hang out on company time? Or are you doing that because that's the right way to run a pressing plant? But if you look at any of the media, they talked about what a cool place this place is going to be. That's not owned by VMP. Here's something else they did. they put together an agreement between the pressing plant and VMP that was favorable to the pressing plant and unfavorable to VMP to the tune of $1.5 million of VMP money. Remember, VMP money is going to the defendants, the owners of the pressing plant. It's coming out of pocket A and going to your pocket. You have a duty to negotiate favorable terms. And when you're doing it in a way that's biased to line your own pockets. I mean, if the allegations of this thing are true, this thing is very much like the Tiffany Henyard case of Illinois. Like, she's just abusing the public trust and lining her pockets with stuff. If the allegations are true, I don't know if they're true. Defendants had VMP send out several announcements and marketing material to its customer base announcing the formation of this pressing plant, implying that the two entities were one and the same. That's pretty easy to prove because you can look at a lot of media. You can look at their LinkedIn site. You can look at their websites. Oh, we've got a pressing plant. It's going online soon. We're going to start pressing records. They did not attempt to delineate the fact that these are two separate entities. That brings up another question, though. Did the board not know this was going on? How did the board for 2 years not realize that the media is being saturated with these announcements of a VMP pressing plant that wasn't really a VMP pressing plant? That might come up in the court case. That might come up in the defense's argument. Hey, you guys let this go on. You knew it was going on. Why did you not stop it? And another allegation here. To date, the pressing plant has not filled any of the orders that the defendants had VMP advertised to its customers. After 2.5 years of getting this thing together, the pandemic is over. They still haven't been able to press records. That makes the defendants look kind of silly, but the other side of that coin, are you saying you wouldn't have cared? You wouldn't have brought this lawsuit if, in fact, they could press the records? Hey, the pressing plant's going beautifully. We're pressing records like clockwork. They're all coming out pristine. We don't have, the quality control is great. We're pressing them efficiently and on time and on budget. Would they have brought this lawsuit? Would they have said, hey, well, it's okay. At least they solved the supply chain problem. We shouldn't worry about it. I don't know. But the fact that they've made a big deal out of that in the lawsuit doesn't actually help the plaintiffs, in my opinion. Because it shouldn't matter. The plant is working or it's not working. You used company money to create this plant. The plant was still not able to press records, so finally the board starts asking questions. Well, what took you so long? The board said, give us a full accounting and explanation for the time and money and resources that you used on this side project that you said was going to be a minor side project. What took the board so long to ask these questions? That does not help the plaintiff's case at all, in my opinion. But the defendants did not provide a truthful accounting of what the heck was going on. Where did all this money go to? Why is this money going out the door to this company that has nothing to do with us? So VMP has suffered damages as a result of the defendant's breach of duties, money, loss of productivity, and damage to our reputation. This is provable, I think. If you look at the number of people online talking about the fact that they're not happy with the quality of VMP for the last year or so, that the pressing quality might not be good, the offerings are not that great. One big vinyl YouTube guy, Michael, the German guy at 45 RPM audiophile, I think he's called, he did a big video about a week and a half ago about how he is canceling his VMP subscription. And this whole lawsuit thing was not really part of it. It may have been the straw that broke the camel's back, but it sounded like he had been thinking about canceling his subscription for quite some time. So anyway, there's been a lot of talk online in the last several months about people not happy with VMP. So I don't know if their subscription base is falling or not. And I'm wishing them well. I don't wish all this bad press on any company that's trying to do the right thing by its customers. And I did reach out, like I said, to the plaintiffs on this case, and they suggested maybe that I'll do an interview with the new CEO of the company. So look for that in upcoming weeks. And we're really going to hopefully talk about not the lawsuit, but what lies ahead for VMP. Bringing new vinyl to you new vinyl collectors, I think, is a great idea if they can make it work and get back on their feet. I may have mentioned this, but I'm not a subscriber of theirs. I've already amassed over 4,000 records, and I did that because I've been collecting vinyl since the beginning. I have original pressings that I bought myself in the 70s. I go back to the 60s and 70s, worked in record stores, 80s, and have tons of records and hang out in record stores and thrift shops. And I like to buy records for $1 or $2, not $40. So Vinyl Me Please is not necessarily the right product for an old guy like me who has all these old records, but for you youngsters trying to build a collection, certainly a great idea. All right, guys, I've said enough about the Vinyl Me Please lawsuit. If you have any comments, questions, let me know. And looking forward to seeing Vinyl Me Please get back on their feet and get through this little rough spot. But I'm curious to see how the lawsuit goes. So thanks for watching. You know what? I forgot to give my ticker. I always forget to do this. Follow me. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever it's called. Vinyl Rundown. Ask for it by name. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.